My mother-in-law showed up to our honeymoon suite, banged on the door, and screamed, "I'm coming in." My husband chuckled and said, "She just wants to check on us." Furious, I grabbed his ring, placed it in his hand, and whispered, "Then marry her instead." His eyes widened as I walked away without looking back. I never thought I'd be a runaway bride. I never imagined I'd be standing in a five-star hotel hallway, staring at my new husband with my wedding ring burning in my palm. I never expected to hear his mother's voice screeching from the other side of the honeymoon suite door. "I'm coming in." And I definitely didn't expect my husband to chuckle and say, "She just wants to check on us." That was it. That was the moment I knew. I took a deep breath, placed the ring in his hand, and whispered, "Then marry her instead." And before he could process what was happening, I turned around and walked away. I met Chuck 4 years ago. He was charming, sweet, funny. The kind of guy who made you feel safe. The kind of guy you thought would be an amazing husband. What I didn't know was that he already had a wife. No, not another woman. His mother. Chuck wasn't just a mama's boy. He was her entire world. At first, it was small things. She called every single night before he went to bed. She had a key to his apartment and would show up unannounced just to tidy up. She paid his bills even though he had a full-time job. She referred to me as Chuck's little friend. We had been dating for a year before I even met her. I thought maybe she was just a bit overprotective. She was a single mom, after all. I told myself it wasn't a red flag, just a quirk. That was my first mistake. The second Chuck proposed, it was like she activated demon mode. She took over the wedding planning. Completely. If I said I wanted something, she wanted something else. If I picked a date, she suddenly had an emotional connection to a different one. If I picked a venue, she hated the location. And Chuck? He just sat there, smiling like a dumbass, saying, "Mom just wants to help." Help? She picked my wedding dress. I didn't even see it until the morning of the wedding. She called the caterer behind my back and changed the menu. She rearranged the seating chart so she could sit next to Chuck at the altar. At one point, she actually said, "This wedding isn't just about you two, it's about our family." I should have run. I should have taken the hint. But like an idiot, I told myself she would back off after the wedding. I was wrong. It wasn't a wedding. It was Denise's personal Broadway show. She wore a white gown, a full-blown, lace-covered wedding dress. She gave a speech before my father, a speech where she cried about how Chuck was the greatest love of her life. She danced with him during our first dance. I was the outsider at my own wedding. The worst part? Chuck let it happen. I told myself, this is the last time she'll get away with it. After today, it's just us. That was my second mistake. Chuck and I went to Maui for our honeymoon. I thought we would finally have alone time, no interruptions, no chaos, just us. We had been in the hotel room for less than 3 hours when he got his first text. "Guess who? Did you land safely? What's your room number?" I gave him a look. He laughed. "She just worries." That night, we ordered room service and had just settled in when there was a knock at the door. I thought it was housekeeping. Chuck got up and opened it without checking. And there she was. Denise, standing outside our honeymoon suite with her suitcase beside her. "Surprise," she sang, stepping inside like she owned the place. I was frozen. I couldn't even form a sentence. But Chuck? He grinned. "Mom, you actually came." Came? He knew. He fucking knew. "Of course, sweetheart. I couldn't let you two be here all alone. What if you need me?" She kissed his cheek. Then she turned to me and barely acknowledged me. "Be a dear and call the front desk. I need some fresh towels." Like I was a fucking maid. I turned to Chuck, waiting for him to say something. He didn't. He was already grabbing her suitcase. That's when I realized I was the third wheel in my own marriage. I was never going to come first. I was never going to matter the way she did. Denise didn't steal my husband. She had him all along. And he was never going to choose me. I took a deep breath, slid off my wedding ring, and pressed it into his palm. I whispered, "Then marry her instead." And I turned and walked out. I expected him to come after me. I expected yelling, arguing something. But there was nothing. I made it to the elevator before I heard his voice. Babe, wait." I turned around just as he jogged into the hallway. His face was a mess of confusion, panic, and still, somehow, amusement, like this was just a misunderstanding. "Why are you acting like this?" he actually asked, like I was throwing a tantrum over nothing. I wanted to scream. "Your mother just crashed our honeymoon, Chuck. Do you not see how insane that is?" He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck like I was exhausting him. "She's just looking out for us. She spent so much money on the wedding, and she didn't want to miss out on seeing us happy. I held up my hand. "If you say she just wants to help, I swear to God, Chuck, I will throw myself down this elevator shaft. His jaw clenched. What was I supposed to do? He shot back, suddenly defensive. She already booked the flight, the hotel room. She didn't ask, she just did it. It's not like I invited her. That did it. But you didn't tell her no either. His face twisted, like that had never even occurred to him. You don't say no to my mom, babe. You just work with her. There it was. The thing I had been too blind to see. Chuck wasn't married to me. He was raised to be his mother's husband. And I was nothing but an extra piece in their lives. I turned and pressed the elevator button. Babe, seriously? He laughed, but now there was a sharp edge to it. You're really gonna leave over this? I didn't answer. The elevator doors opened. Come on, he said, lowering his voice like I was embarrassing him. Don't be like this. Don't make a scene. That stopped me cold. A scene? I echoed, my voice shaking. Chuck, your mother booked a flight, packed a bag, and is currently unpacking in our honeymoon suite. And I'm the one making a scene. His mouth opened, then shut. I stepped into the elevator. Where are you going? He asked, softer this time. Somewhere your mother isn't. The doors closed before he could say another word. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't even thinking straight. I just knew I had to get away. I made it to the hotel lobby and pulled out my phone. First thing I did? Blocked Chuck's number. Blocked Denise. Then I marched straight to the front desk. I need a new room, I said. Away from the honeymoon suite. The concierge, a young guy with tired eyes, raised an eyebrow. Miss, your husband already. He's not my husband anymore. That got his attention. Right. Let me see what we have. He clicked through his screen while I stood there, heart pounding. That's when I heard it. A voice. Her voice. Sweetheart. I turned just in time to see Denise striding toward me, her silk dress swishing around her ankles. I wanted to run, but I stood my ground. Are you lost? She asked, tilting her head like I was a confused child. My hands curled into fists. No. She sighed, like I was an inconvenience. Listen, honey, I know this is overwhelming for you. Marriage is a big step. But running away like this? It's not mature. It's not how a wife behaves. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. A wife. I repeated. A wife to who, Denise? You? Because it sure as hell isn't to Chuck. Her lips pursed. You are being dramatic. I almost laughed. Denise, you flew across the country and crashed your son's honeymoon. What do you even want? She blinked, like the thought had never even crossed her mind. I want to make sure he's okay. And there it was. Not us. Him. He's a grown man, I said, not a toddler. He doesn't need his mommy holding his hand on his honeymoon. She stiffened. I raised him alone, she said, as if that explained everything. I made him who he is. I won't just be tossed aside because some girl decided she wanted to play house with him. That made me see red. Play house. I echoed, voice shaking. You think I married Chuck to play house? Do you even know what marriage is, Denise? Because it sure as hell isn't the weird, clingy relationship you have with your son. Her face went cold. Watch yourself, dear, she said, her voice like ice. You don't want to turn Chuck against you. I almost choked. You think Chuck will pick you over me? I asked. You really think that's a threat? Because let me tell you something, Denise, Chuck has never been mine. He's always been yours. Her eyes narrowed. You're acting like a child, she said. Go upstairs, apologize to my son, and act like a proper wife. Or don't bother coming back at all. I felt lightheaded. Because I finally understood. Denise didn't just want to be involved. She wanted to be in control. And Chuck? He let her. I inhaled deeply, steadying my voice. You're right. She smiled, thinking she had won. Then I added, I'm not coming back at all. And I turned my back on her. I walked away from Denise, my pulse pounding in my ears. I wasn't scared. I was done. I had made my choice. But as I reached the front desk, the concierge looked up, hesitating. Miss? There's a problem. I exhaled sharply. What now? He glanced at the computer screen. Your room reservation has been canceled. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, canceled? He cleared his throat. It looks like your husband called ahead. He said you wouldn't be needing it. I gripped the edge of the counter, seeing red all over again. Chuck. He was trying to trap me. Fine, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. I'll book another one. The concierge winced. I'm sorry, but the hotel is completely booked. I stared at him. No. Yes, ma'am. It's peak season. I felt sick. Denise's smug voice rang in my ears. Go upstairs, apologize to my son, and act like a proper wife. Or don't bother coming back at all. This wasn't just Chuck being stupid. This was Denise's plan all along. She was cutting off my exits. And I had nowhere to go. I needed a plan. I grabbed my phone, my fingers shaking as I typed out a message. But then I realized Chuck had control over our accounts. The credit card? His name was first. The flight home? Booked through his account. My entire honeymoon was tied to him. I checked my bank account. My personal card had just enough for a last-minute flight, but not a decent hotel. Which meant I had two choices. 1. Go back upstairs, let Denise win, and let this marriage destroy me. 2. Find another way out. I wasn't going back. I turned on my heel and walked out of the hotel. I ordered an Uber straight to the airport. I didn't have a ticket yet, but I didn't care. I just needed out. As I got in the car, I felt my phone vibrate. Chuck. 23 missed calls. I ignored them. Then, a message popped up from an unknown number. Denise, don't make this worse for yourself. You're embarrassing us. I laughed. I actually laughed. She thought I cared. But just as I reached the airport, something caught my eye. A familiar figure standing outside. Chuck. And he wasn't alone. Denise was right beside him. They were waiting for me. My stomach turned. What the hell was going on? I told the driver to drop me at a different entrance, hoping to avoid them. But as soon as I stepped out, I heard Chuck's voice. Babe. I turned, heart hammering. Chuck looked stressed, like he hadn't slept in days. Denise, on the other hand? She looked calm. Too calm, like she knew something I didn't. Why are you doing this? Chuck asked, his voice desperate. Why are you running? Because this isn't a marriage, Chuck, I shot back. This is you and your mother playing house while I sit in the corner. That's not fair. Fair? I scoffed. Chuck, do you even love me? Or do you just love that I didn't leave sooner? He opened his mouth, then closed it. That's when Denise stepped forward. Sweetheart, she said, her voice smooth as silk. We can fix this. But running away isn't the answer. Running away? I repeated. You trapped me in that hotel, canceled my reservation, and now you're stalking me at the airport. She didn't even blink. You'll regret this, she said, her voice lower now. Something in her tone made my skin crawl. Then Chuck pulled out a folder. He handed it to me. Just read it, he said. I hesitated, then opened it. And everything stopped. Inside was a contract. A prenuptial agreement. One I had never signed. One that said, in fine print, if the marriage ends in less than a year, the wife receives nothing. No settlement. No assets. Nothing. I looked up at Chuck, horrified. You tricked me. He shook his head fast. No, it's just, Mom said it was for protection. She didn't want you to leave so soon, she thought, so you knew. His face went pale. You knew about this the whole time. I looked back down at the papers, my vision blurring. I had married a man who had been planning my escape before I even walked down the aisle. Denise smirked. Now, sweetheart, she said, why don't we all go back to the hotel and talk this over like adults? I looked her dead in the eyes. I'd rather jump into the ocean. And before they could grab me, I turned and ran. I ran. I didn't care where. I just knew I had to get away. My sandals slapped against the pavement as I sprinted through the airport, dodging travelers, my heart hammering like a war drum. Behind me, I heard Chuck shouting, calling my name. But I didn't stop. I had one chance. If they caught me, I knew. Denise would trap me. She would use every manipulative trick in the book to guilt me into staying. And Chuck? He'd just let her. I had to get out. I made it to the airline counter, panting. Next flight to Los Angeles, I gasped, shoving my ID at the agent. She tapped at her keyboard, glancing at me. Ma'am, are you okay? No. But I nodded. Earliest one leaves in 2 hours, she said. 1 seat left. 1 seat. I'll take it. I swiped my card. It went through. A second later, I had my boarding pass. That's when I heard the voice I dreaded most. What do you think you're doing? I turned. Denise. Chuck stood beside her, breathing hard, his eyes wild. I curled my fingers around my ticket like a lifeline. I'm leaving. Chuck stepped forward, voice raw. We can fix this. No, Chuck. My voice was steady now. We can't. His face broke. I love you. I stared at him, my chest aching. No, Chuck. You love her. I nodded at Denise, who stood there smirking like she had already won. That's not fair. Chuck's voice cracked. She's my mom. I can't just, yes, you can. My throat burned. You just don't want to. Denise sighed dramatically. This is pathetic. She folded her arms, shaking her head. You're going to ruin a perfectly good marriage over your pride? I laughed. I actually laughed. My pride. I turned to Chuck. Tell me something. If I hadn't found that prenup, would you have ever told me? He hesitated. That was my answer. That wasn't my idea, he said quickly. It was Mom's. She didn't want you to leave too soon, So you let her plan your entire marriage like a business deal. My voice rose. How long was I supposed to stay, Chuck? 6 months? A year? Would I get a gold star if I made it to our anniversary? He flinched. Denise rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. I snapped. You crashed our honeymoon, Denise. My voice rang through the airport. People turned to watch. You inserted yourself into every moment of our relationship. You chose my wedding dress, changed my venue, and sat next to Chuck at the altar like I didn't even exist. Denise's face darkened. You don't understand. No, I do. I cut her off. You don't want Chuck to be married. Because you need him to yourself. You need him to be yours. Because if he has a wife, you lose control. Denise's jaw tightened. Chuck swallowed hard, looking between us. I turned to him one last time. You had a choice, Chuck. And you made it. I just finally noticed. His eyes watered. Please don't do this, he whispered. I can change. My heart twisted. Because the worst part? I believed him. For 1 second, I actually believed he wanted to. But then I saw Denise. Saw the way she stared at me, waiting. Waiting for him to choose. And I knew he never would. I stepped back. Goodbye, Chuck. His face collapsed. Denise exhaled sharply, annoyed. Well, this was a waste of time. Chuck turned to her, his expression breaking apart, and for the first time I saw it. Hurt. Betrayal. Because he finally realized it too. This whole time, Denise hadn't been fighting for his happiness. She had been fighting for control. Mom, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Denise stiffened. What? He stared at her. Why did you do all this? She scoffed. Are you really that blind? I did it for you. Chuck swallowed, shaking his head. No, you did it for you. Denise's face went pale. For 1 second, she lost her composure. But then, she hardened. You're just upset, she said coldly. You'll see things my way soon enough. And then, she walked away. Just like that. Like we had never mattered at all. Chuck stood there, stunned, watching her disappear into the crowd. And that's when I realized. For the first time in his life, he was alone. I turned. I walked toward my gate, my chest aching, my hands trembling. I had lost my husband. But I had saved myself. And for the first time since the wedding, I felt free.